Hello and welcome to the show. This is Addis Dialogue from Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation. The Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia's government embarked on different reforms, political and economic and other reforms as well, to keep the momentum of this reform and to bring good results, which people of the entire Ethiopians are expecting from this reform. Because this reform costs many things. At the cost of many things that this reform came into being and comes true. But where is this reform heading? Where is the role of elites, political elites or scholars, Ethiopian diasporas as well? What are the challenges? My guest for today is Oromo Liberation Front's strategic advisor, Mr. IbsaNegewo. Do stay with us. Mr. IbsaNegewo, welcome to Addis Dialogue.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Let's start our discussion. The Oromo Liberation Front is a political party formed in 1960s and late 1950s. Would you tell us a bit about what OLF is all about?
In terms of the age and representing the big society or nation in Ethiopia, is really a bigger organization in terms of everything. Since 1983, during the charter time, it became really internally, externally, a huge pressure on it. Mm-hmm. So, embroiled in different factions. But now here, some of its functions are peaceful, engage in peaceful political activities. Some of them are not. So we are doing our best to encourage as well as supporting the reform process, and especially we are supporting the reformist prime minister because the ball is in his court. In his court. Yeah. So trying to encourage him. For sure, the reform process has so many aspects of it, as you say, economical, political, socially, and even arranging the new diplomatic process, which were a taboo for the access to the sea. Now it is a norm of acceptability among the world countries. So that is why we try to encourage the Prime Minister, sometimes criticizing, sometimes not, supporting. So fully really engaging in a process of renewal process of the country.
Renewal process.
Yeah.
How do you assess the political trajectory of Ethiopia in successive regimes, be it in Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, Derg, EPRDF, and the current reform? How do you assess it?
Well, the current reform process is totally unique with the successive Ethiopian regimes in terms of democratic principle. That means democracy is in the process for sure. You cannot bring democracy in overnight in a proclamations. Just it is a cultural of tolerance which is in the process now. The Prime Minister, since he took over the government, by the way, he put a presidencies like peaceful transition of power. There was no such a process in Ethiopia before him. Mengistu was expelled. Haile Selassie was killed by Mengistu. Yeah, in Ethiopia, the political tradition is, you just seize the power by killing, and get out of the
palace,
grand palace by, dying or, taking a refugee. But this one, is a peaceful transition. This is a big presidency in Ethiopia, really, for the young generation. This is a symbol of peaceful political transition will be continuing, I think so.
Why is it so? Why such thinking and the mentality where power grows from the barrel of a gun and go to palace, and eventually expelled from palace by the same method, someone who came to power. You harvest what you sow. Why we couldn't see it in Europe or in America?
Europe and America has their own process, long since maybe this pluralist political concept has been since the 14th centuries. In Africa, especially in Ethiopia, the power belongs to the kings. Until the king dies, nobody is going to assume a power. Even if they assume a power, it will be a coup d'etat or overthrowing the regime and killing the previous leadership and take over. This is a process in Ethiopia. It's a bad political culture in Ethiopia, really. So when the Mengistu regime come to power, the military I mean, and they just repeat that thing by killing the previous leadership as a whole. You remember, 60 of them in one night. And this is what the communists thinks about it too, because a monarchist power, it looks like the vanguard organization is a communist party. That is the way they think. So it matches with the conservative thinking of not to tolerate another opinion.
Views.
So that is what happened in Ethiopia. Still, the country is suffering from this ideological set of mind among the intellectuals. Even the young are not tolerant because of the different ethnic groups competing for power, and that this partisanship political concept is really growing in Ethiopia. That is why the power comes from the barrel of the gun. The concept is the slogan during 1960s. Still people thinking that way.
This is a Napoleon approach. Napoleon Bonaparte said power grows from the barrel of a gun.
Exactly. So you bet it. Now you came to Europe. You see, that time was past.
Exactly.
They tried. It was so many people killed. They took that experience and they came to the democratic principles.
What are the triggering factors for the reformist government today that leads it to even invite all political parties, those who are abroad, those who are in the jungle, those who are in diametrically opposite sides of political arena in Ethiopia, and accepting pluralistic approach of political dialogue?
This is I think Dr. Abiy, personally, he was not from the corridor of the elite of the ruling class in this country. And he learned a lot of things maybe to get out of from such a vicious circle political game. He thinks that democracy is the only solution to Ethiopia's backwardness, economically and politically and in so many ways. So that is why he invited all the political organizations on his first speech of the parliament 7 years ago. And he is trying to do or to facilitate the democratic concept by creating independent institutions like Ethiopian Election Board and so on. So to widen the political spectrum for others to compete, and finally the people has to say, or have to decide who is going to lead the country. The decision is not the barrel of the gun or the bullet, but the ballot is a decision maker. So that is why he tried his best.
Did OLF anticipate when Abiy came to power, when there are internal political dynamics in EPRDF, which led to this reform to happen?
Really, it was some of us, we couldn't believe that such things will happen.
Okay, because of prior experience.
Exactly, because of the experience. On the meantime, because of the Ethiopian political culture, this is very new approach. And now the tolerance is should have to be among the political parties and the government too.
Yeah.
Because if the political parties are not changing their set of mind toward the pluralism, only opposing the government, defaming the government, defaming the leadership doesn't make toward a civilized society. So both the government and the political organizations should have to be a democrat instead of bringing the democracy to the people.
How do you see the speech that was made by Prime Minister Abiy at that time, 7 years ago, and the existing situation today?
He just put his vision forward on the parliament floor when he accepted the nomination.
Yeah.
So this is still he's doing from that book.
Okay.
And he has his own philosophical concept, which is ingrained in a local society too, like synergy or Maddamar. Yeah, if you see this, synergy doesn't reduce or it is not a reductionist ideology or approach. So that is why he encompassed all the political organizations who were designated by the previous government terrorist organizations. And then we thought, I was in Eritrea at that time, and we listened together with our left leadership, his speech. I say this guy we should have to help him because it is our cause. And the federalism is the benchmark of a solution for Ethiopian nation and nationalities, and we believe in it. So we decide in the process to come home. We meet him in Eritrea. It is a lot of package. If the reformist process was supported by the previous regime leadership, it could be really a fast tracking. It could be, for me, like a cultural revolution toward agriculture.
The holistic package that the government, the reform government comes up with, among which you have mentioned, is synergy coming together, solidarity. The grand narration emanates also from this. How do you see the grand narration that Ethiopians have to come together and have to form a united, strong, prosperous Ethiopia for the future, for the current generation?
Yeah, this is a problem of the last 150 years problem, because the central government was managed by one ethnic group, and then the others were alienated. Not only alienation, but the process of assimilation. I can say that. Historically, all nations and nationalities in Ethiopia marginalized because of the process of this kind of assimilation, and then the narration of history, and the narration of being as a human being even was a joke for some of the ruling elite or classes. I may say ruling classes, because the mass is nothing to do with that group. So the narration is now political pluralism, and the basic principle of brotherhood and equality among nations and nationalities, being the member of this country, and their tradition, culture, and language should have to be reflected in a constitution, in a day-to-day federal government activities. So this was really the enhancement of, by putting democratic principle on federalism. So we support this concept.
If we take Ethiopia, Ethiopia is a country in Africa which has civilization and an icon of civilization even before the advent of history, even before BC. We can take the Aksumite Empire, the Damat Kingdom, even we can take the Ethiopia's, the then Ethiopia's trade and commerce with the Arabian Peninsula, having a sea access, How do you see that in today's political trajectory, which Ethiopia's government is proponent?
I think sadly because of the self-centered political, I might say tragedy, losing the sea access to the unnecessary political situation is really for Ethiopia. Being a population of 120 or more than that, nobody's count,
plus.
yeah, plus, and not having the access to the sea is a tragedy. This is a political strategy mistakenly used for seeking political power only, not to the national interest of the country. And this, I think now, Dr. Abiy bring it back, this kind of narration. Normally, it was a taboo for the previous regime to talk even this, you will be killed or arrested. Now, it is really a norm to discuss this thing with any government.
Publicly.
And then the population also accepted. I think for the neighboring countries also, it is a good to have such a narration and talk to each other, solve this problem for the benefit of the East African or Horn of African peoples, economical growth, political stabilities, and cultural and everything, and cultural understanding among these nations. Most of these nations, countries like Djibouti, Eritrea, and Somalia, and people live here, over there. They have no difference except the rulers, I might say. So to get a benefit of technological innovation and economical development, port is without using it is nothing. Like Eritrea now, I have been in there in Eritrea, Assab and Massawa. Nothing is going on. If you don't use it, you cannot call it a port. Yeah. So to use, both people can benefit it.
There are few elites who can conspire against Ethiopia's development and prosperity, where Ethiopia is an icon of development, an icon of peacekeeping mission in different parts of Africa. And Ethiopia has no any history of invading other countries as well. But Ethiopia government and Ethiopians are claiming, let's have a joint program of development and progress, having access to sea, because Ethiopia's economy is booming. Exactly. What is your take on that?
In the future, Ethiopia, whether the ruling class like it or not, Ethiopia will grow. Definitely. Ethiopia will have the energy hub of Africa. The water we have is more than enough to at least reach rural area of the country and some African countries. So yeah, that is what they don't want it, you know, in terms of economic growth. Political influence will come if the economy is growing, and the military strength will come when the economy is growing. They know that, so they oppose and create some renegade groups to fight in Ethiopia and reach their goal of instability in Ethiopia. This is what they are doing.
How could the Ethiopian government and Ethiopian population or Ethiopian diasporas could talk with other parties?
That is a big issue. First, to convince the world community is the most important thing. Second, convincing your own population and the population of other neighboring countries' population is the most important. Doing such thing, it takes a little bit time, but we have to continue to talk to each other. Talking is much better than, bullet. So Ethiopia chose that ways, and to the growth of the economic stability in Horn of Africa. means the Somalis, the Ethiopians, or the Djiboutians, or the Eritreans, street people will benefit the economic growth of this
country,
continent, the country, and even the region, the Horn of Africa region. Such economic integrations should have to accompanied by political integration.
The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is the point of synergy, which testifies the unity of Ethiopians. If we have also, if Ethiopia also get right access to sea, it can also benefit other African countries as well. So the common success, common development, and common prosperity.
Yeah, I think the Great Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia is a symbol of African innovation, maybe toward using their own local water energy to the industrialization of Africa, maybe. So Ethiopia can export the electrification of such things inside the country first, and for other African nations. And as you say, the Congo and others can use such thing without a fear. And now I think inauguration is coming for the Great, and it is really Ethiopia has to invite the entire African nations, head of nations, or expertise, to use such thing. And electrification is the most important thing for the economic growth, for sure. It's an engine. Without that, you can't create big industries or small industries because of the interruption of the electrification thing. Electric is the most important. So Ethiopia has two multiple such dam for local and external use of or external sales of the electric. It is a guarantee for some countries in the region, really, because Ethiopia has a big resource in terms of water, really. Ethiopia is the most important country for the region and the Middle East too.
Mr. IbsaNegewo, strategic advisor to the Oromo Liberation Front, OLF, thank you so much for your time and critical analysis.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dear viewers and listeners, by this we come to today's show. Until we meet with another edition of Addis Dialogue, goodbye for now. You can follow us on different platforms of EBC's social media. Goodbye for now once again. Thank you for being with us.